So with the whole Speaker of the House debacle last week with MAGA deciding that Jim Jordan was their man, that was kind of like having a bag of popcorn, and you knew that one piece of popcorn in the bag was poisonous, and you knew exactly which piece it was, and MAGA pulling that exact piece out of the bag saying, here, we want you to eat this. Luckily, nobody got poisoned, but now we're left with the leftovers. Now we're left with all the kernels and bits of pieces left over in the bottom of the bag, and you're kind of scared because all those could have enough poison transfer on them to really do some damage. But then I saw this morning that several of the candidates had dropped out, including one of Alabama's finest election deniers, the Heart of Dixie's Gary Palmer. In a statement, Gary Palmer said, "I will work with the next speaker on the ideas I have laid out so Congress can come together and do the job the American people sent us here to do. With that in mind, I am withdrawing my name from consideration for speaker." Well, would you look at that? Gary Palmer is a man of the people, a man for the people. Gary Palmer is a man who will keep his word unless he has a higher calling from above. See, in 2014, Gary Palmer signed a pledge with U.S. Term Limits, a national group advocating for term limits. He pledged that he will co-sponsor legislation that would limit senators to 2 terms and representatives to 3 terms. And then after he signed that, pledging to co-sponsor legislation limiting representatives to 3 terms, he announced that he was running for his 4th term. And the group was like, "Hey, Gary, what you doing there, buddy?" And Gary Palmer said, "Well, yeah, I do think that's important, but I'm going to run for my 4th term, and I make a personal pledge that I'm only going to serve 5 terms. Well, he's on his 5th term now. And earlier this year, he announced that he was running for his 6th term. And the group was like, Gary, what you doing there, buddy? You got an explanation for this?" Gary said, "Well, actually, I prayed about it, and turns out God is against term limits." Palmer said, "I didn't pray about it. Sometimes you get ahead of God." The Alabama congressman contended he planned on abiding by the pledge until early March when he prayed to God for clarity on his decision. "I need to change my mind, so I'm going to run again," Palmer told Alabama Today. "God still has a plan for me. I need to change my mind, so I'm going to run again." God be sending them mixed signals, huh? I prayed to God, and God said, "Hey, look, Gary, where else you gonna find a job that pays that much money with that much time off and where you don't have to do a damn thing, where you're really bad at your job and you still get money? It's either this or a failed football coach." So the only reason that Gary Palmer went back on his promise of term limits basically twice is because God told him to. It must be the will of the Lord because it seems so right to me.